Hey everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here, reacting to the NCAA tournament. The Sweet 16 is set, but I want to talk about a team that is no longer in the tournament. The defending two-time champions, UConn Huskies, the Connecticut Huskies, are out of the tournament. There will be a new national champion for the first time in 2 seasons. They've run the sport. They were an 8 seed, had a really up and down season, but took Florida to the limit. But the story here and the conversation is with Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley's been in the news a lot for a lot of different reasons. He almost took the Laker job. He ends up going back to UConn, gets a contract extension, and he's obviously got this bravado about him, and this I'm not gonna say aura because that's what the kids say, but he's got this stigma around him where there's either he's a very much a lightning rod in the entire sport because of his antics and the way he conducts his business. Like he had the whole two rings baldy thing. I think that was at Creighton earlier this year, and then walks off the court in Raleigh, goes over to Baylor in the tunnel, and basically says, "Hope." I'm paraphrasing here. Hope the refs don't fuck you. Hope they don't fuck you like they did us. And so, yeah, listen, and Dan Hurley is a great coach, and he had a very heartfelt press conference afterwards. He's one of the big and bright shining objects in terms of coaching in this sport in the modern era, with where a lot of the legends of this of college basketball have gone by the wayside. But I'm here to tell you, this may be a hot take, and I give credit to my buddy Aaron Torres, who ironically is a UConn alum, so he may have a little bit of an input on that side. But At my guy who I've known for a long time knows the sport of college basketball, and I'll say this: Dan Hurley is good for college basketball. That may be hard for people to understand, or maybe hard for people to wrap their minds around, but you guys come here all the time for my wrestling takes. Most of you people who subscribe to the channel, this is a cross between sports and sports entertainment. What makes good professional wrestling? A good heel. And I'm here to tell you, Dan Hurley is about as good of a heel as there is in any sport. In any sport. Because he is just like he's a very provocative and very divisive figure in the sport. And frankly, in the world of sports in general, we need figures like that, because what creates great drama in professional wrestling? A great heel. Like you have to have people united in somebody they hate so you can root against them, and that creates drama. Like we tried to make look at the women's basketball. Everybody wanted to root for Caitlin Clark, so we had to make up a villain. And I got to give credit to Angel Reese. She played the role really well. I don't know if she really wanted to be the heel or the villain, but she embraced it, and that was kind of the thing. Like LeBron James, I remember when he went to Miami, he was kind of like the fake heel. Like he didn't want to. He wanted to be beloved. He never wanted to be the heel. And that's why he ultimately went back to Cleveland after he won a couple championships and tried to do the old face turn, as we talk about in wrestling. But Dan Hurley is a heel through and through. Like even if he does the coach speak at the podium and talks about the emotional run that this team has had and how much he loves them. Like look, the antics that you see on the sideline, I'm not saying that's who he is. I mean, he is who he is in terms of the personality that he brings to his coaching and the way that he yells at refs. And we like to, analyze these guys for what they do within games and but I think with the way social media has worked, Dan Hurley, a lot of his antics, post game have been caught, especially since he got to UConn and especially since UConn started to win a lot. And it also, I think the bigger stage for him is now, okay, he's won 2 national championships, and he's one of the standards of the sport, an NBA team, one of the most important franchises in all of sports, one of the most important franchises in the NBA, the Lakers, and who have LeBron James on their team. They wanted Dan Hurley. They wanted Dan Hurley. And so, there's going to be more of a microscope on that. But I'm not here to say that these antics are good or reflect or a great reflection of the sport, but you need drama and you need juice and you need something to come from somewhere. And when you have, like, a divisive figure, a figure that can to be, for a lot of people, just become very unlikable, that's good. That's good for any sport. And for college basketball with this, transactional era where players are jumping from place to place, you don't know where teams are. You got people going to the NBA, you've got the G League, you've got all this stuff, the NIL, the portal. Coaches are going to be the ones that carry this sport, and you need a great heel. You need a good bad guy. And I think the best bad guy, not just in college basketball, one of the best bad guys in all of sports is Dan Hurley. And that is good for college basketball. They need to they need to have more people like that in the sport, so that way you could have some of these matchups that really have competitive juice, and you can have like drama, and like, just really intrigue in a lot of these games, because it's like, hey, you want to see that guy lose, or it's you just don't see that a lot in sports anymore, and especially in college basketball, like I said, which doesn't have a lot of name brand, at least staying in certain places. You're going to have to lean on the coaches. So we'll see how this goes moving forward, but we're going to have a new champion this year. Dan Hurley is out. um, but listen, like, I think a lot of people were really overreacting to a lot of things that were going on. Like, listen, you may not like him, but like I said, I think it's good for college basketball. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.